I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance in that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London.
That they're into. For the future, our company wants to continue our heritage of innovation, because in the end, that's what we do, making riding more fun and more safe.
I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance in that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London. I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance in that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London. I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance in that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London. I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance in that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London.
Where did you all come from?
I know you're not here for me. You're here for great.
Now, Greg, I know you've been talking on stage here at the Rouleur Classic the past couple of days. I was thinking, how do we make this different? And as I was doing a little bit of research, I went onto your Wikipedia page and noticed that the picture of you on Wikipedia is you called the Trump.
There, I know. Yeah, I in 2006 or 2007, a friend of mine, he used to bike race and did the Tour de Pont, actually a couple races, which from Tour de Trump went to the Two-Pont race. And he told me Donald Trump was doing he had a big press deal at Trump Tower. And my friend, his name's Jonathan Cooper, he talks a lot. And I say, oh, this is Greg LeMond. I said, I'm not going, I don't want to go. Oh, come on, just come down. I said, don't you tell anybody. He wanted me to see Trump again. I said, don't you do that. And my wife were standing towards the entrance of the door, and the press conference was there. And of course, he had all these beautiful women and big event. And I'm just talking to my wife, and he said, I hear this, ladies and gentlemen, we have a world-famous American hero here. And then somebody grabs me, and they pull me up, and I'm going, oh my gosh, what the hell did he do? What did my friend do? And just as I'm walking on stage, he's like, ladies and gentlemen, we have Lance Armstrong here. And I said, no, I'm not Lance Armstrong, I'm Greg. And he was, I never believed this could happen, but he blushed, he was embarrassed. I couldn't believe it.
Did he? And he's never stopped blushing since.
So, yeah, I can't talk politics right now, but I jokingly took a photo from that press deal, and anyways, I can't say that one. Anyway, never mind. I can't say that because it gets out. It's very sensitive right now.
I can't imagine you looked at this guy and thought he's going to be the president of America one day.
Everything's possible in America. That's the American dream.
I guess it is.
Yeah, I never believed that, but let's stay with.
Let's get back to the start.
I'm getting. Never mind. Pandora's box.
We'll leave the Donald there.
Yes.
But if everything's possible in America, did you go up dreaming of winning the Tour de France?
I did. I did. I mean, I said, how many people were here the last 2 days? So maybe, I can't remember what I talked about. When I started cycling, I didn't have a clue what the Tour de France was. And I started cycling to get in shape for skiing. And one thing led to another. I grew up in the Sierra Nevadas, and there was no snow that year. And I was in a bike shop in Reno, Nevada, and somebody came up and said, have you ever thought of racing? I'm like, no. I mean, actually, the 6 months before I was going, my parents bought me gave me a 5-day ski camp in Canada to learn to do flips. And the day that we were leaving, there was a bike race in front of our house, and we were all kind of irritated, like, what the hell's happening?
But it's colorful, and my sister's bizarre. My family's not into sports. I mean, we were active people. My parents were blue-collar people from LA, moved to Lake Tahoe, and we got into skiing, but I said my parents' sports were bowling and trap shooting. But we got into downhill skiing, and then in 1972, my mom's a fanatic. She was a fanatic of the Olympics, and Olga Korbut was the big star in America.
Gymnast, yeah.
And my sister got into gymnastics, and she ended up winning actually national championships. She was on the national team. And this is a family that had we didn't realize we had any athletic talent. And just as I'm leaving to that ski camp, I'm kind of jokingly, I said, well, my sister's whole goal was the Olympics. I said, well, maybe I'll make it in cycling. But that was a joke, and never thought I'd get into it. And I came back from that ski camp and bought a bike. I used to cut lawns to make money, and bought a bike, and my dad bought one. And we rode for the next 6 months, and it was great. But I was getting in shape for skiing. So anyways, this guy said, have you ever thought of bike racing? And no. And he invited me to a Reno Wheelman meeting, and then they talked about a club race 2 weeks later on the same course that the state championships were, the race that blocked us. And I ended up getting second place out of 40 people. And one guy was a national champion. So they all told my dad, I think he's got talent. So that's how I got into cycling. I showed up. There was one bike in Reno, Nevada, yellow Chinelli, and I bought a matching jersey. And turns out Mike Sinyard from Specialized, that he was distributing Chinellis, and that was
It was him?
Yeah, but no, that was the bike he distributed. It was sat on the shop floor for 2 years before I bought it. My dad bought it.
Wow.
And Rick Bulis, he would not sell us that bike. He said, it took us 3 or 4 days. He said, kid, you're never going to do a bike race. It's too hard. Anyways, I showed up to my first bike race with the yellow jersey and yellow bike, and a couple people looked at me. The guy who turned out to be really good friends with me looked at me with disgust. And a guy named Kent Cordy helped write my first book, and he invited me to Europe 2 years later. His dad lived in Geneva, Switzerland. And so they invited me over, and I spent 2 months. We raced 2 days, and 2 races in Switzerland, which I won both, 2 races in France, which I won both. Then I came to Belgium, which was the hotbed, and out of 8 races, I won 6 and I got second the other 2. Then I went to Poland by myself and got 3rd place overall and won a stage. But during that trip, I rode from Geneva with Jean-Claude Keely to the Jouplan, and I saw the Tour de France, and that was it. But I was really good in the U.S. at that point. I was winning all the, let's say, amateur races would be like the national team riders. And but at the time, everybody said, nobody can compete against the Merckxes. And they were these mythical gods. But I realized that if they all started off like me, juniors, they have to put their pants on with one leg at a time. And that's when I came back, and I sat down, and it's crazy to think about this, 17 years old. But I put 4 goals down, and one was I was 9th place in the Junior World Championships, and it had a bronze medal in the team time. So the next goal was win the Junior World Championships, win the Olympics. And then I was modeling my career like Merckx in that, win the World Championships pro by 22, and then Tour de France I gave myself a year or two because I'm American. Win it by 25. But I got them all.
You've mentioned Eddie once there, and again, when I was sort of looking up the relationship between the two, and I think actually in the latest issue of Rouleur, this is mentioned in the interview that you did with Andy, the editor. Of course, you won the Tour 3 times. You won the Worlds twice and the Junior Worlds once. But you never won a classic. And he said, well, anyone can win the Tour de France. That's easy. You've got to be hard to win a classic. Eddie Merckx said that about you.
Well, Eddie Merckx didn't enjoy shotgun blasts to his back. And so, honestly, I think that people forget. And it got really got old when people said I just focused on the Tour. And they claimed that I was the one who modernized cycling. But what they don't realize, I raced every classic. And when I got shot, I was a different person. I never came back to the same way. And it is true, the classics take a lot of years, but Gilbert Duclos, who was my teammate, raced Paris-Roubaix 14 years in a row till he won it. So, I was second in Milan-San Remo, second Lombardy. I was always competitive in Tour of Flanders. I think I get 6th or 7th. But when you're an outsider, I was also on a French team, which was not the focus of the classics. And if you're on a Dutch team, a Belgian team, a big advantage.
Would you, from your Palmares, would you trade a Tour win for any of the classics?
Not a Tour win, but
No.
World Championships.
A World win? That's a pretty hard one-day race to win, the Worlds.
So my 2 races I loved was Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. And so when I went to Belgium, in '78, and I met a girl there, and she ended up marrying Dirk de Wolf.
I thought you were going to say it was your wife.
No, this is before my wife.
Your wife is here. Okay.
This was before my wife.
Oh, wow, okay. I hope she's not listening.
Long before. No, the funny story, it is crazy. I met her the year before, and I was 16, 17. I thought we're the same age. And she invited me back the next year, and I'm there for...
And the irony, I broke my finger right here. This was, I've dislocated it 3 times, and in America, 21 to drink beer, 18 if you're in Wisconsin, 16, 17, you can drink beer. So after every race, I'd go into a bar and they'd give me profit, give me congratulations, buy me a beer, and I'm like, great. That day I came in, Dirk de Wolf beat me. I was second, and he came in and said, profit, whatever he called it, congratulations. I said, I didn't win. He said, no, to your engagement, marriage, to Rita Dawson. Rita. I said, Rita, I'm not getting married. I'm 17, going on 18.
And I went back and told Rita, I said, what's going on? Everybody thinks we're going to get married. And she started crying. She said, I love you, I love you. And then she broke down. She says, I'm not really 16, I'm 14.
Oh, you're kidding.
I tell it out there so quickly. I didn't do anything, nothing illegal, nothing. But the irony is I met my wife. I met her the year before, 3 months later, and I said, I'm not getting married till I'm 30.
Yeah.
That's my mind. I'm not, no way. Then I met my wife 3 months later, and I think 6 months later we got engaged. A year and a half later we were married. Crazy.
I have no notes for this kind of topic. But
You hear the inside of my, but it was magical. So I went to Belgium to race on cobblestone.
Yes.
That was my, I raced Paris-Roubaix the first year when I was 19 and stayed there to about 240 Ks and did the final tack before Hino won. So my final tack, not the final tack in the race.
Oh, and we've talked about how you met your wife Kathy, which I know she's been a rock for you. You've put down your racing success, a lot of it down to her. But what I do want to ask you about is your brother-in-law, because you mentioned there you got shot. People might not necessarily know that story, but it was your brother-in-law who shot you.
My sister's husband.
Your sister's husband.
Not my wife's,
not your
no.
wife's brother.
Yeah.
Your sister's husband shot you. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Well, I was, in '86 I won the Tour. I came back. I kind of said this story, so I never know if I'm repeating this. But
Don't worry about that. They want to hear it again anyway.
But after winning my first Tour, it was a big battle with Hino, and it was really, I was not given really the credit Hino gave me the Tour, and it was also that's your goal from your 17, and you win it, and it just wasn't satisfying like I thought it would be, and I was really stressed out. It was an incredibly difficult Tour de France. I mean, racing against your own teammate and really racing by myself, and. Anyways, and I was not in great shape, and I went back, and I actually didn't really know if I wanted to race the next year. And I said, that's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. And then I went back to Europe, and I'm like, I love racing. But I wasn't in great shape, and I broke my hand being in the dead zone in bike racing, either in the front or very back. And so I've avoided a lot of crashes by staying in the top 15 the whole time. But I broke my wrist, came back to the U.S., and I wasn't supposed to race for about 6 months, and April 21st, I think it was, I used to trap shoot, not really a big hunter, but I used to do some bird pheasant and quail hunting, but I got invited to my uncle's farm for opening turkey season, and turkey hunting is notoriously dangerous, because you dress in camouflage, and this was my first time turkey hunting, but most importantly, the first time my brother-in-law ever went hunting, and I think the first time he ever shot a gun. And he forgot to bring his glasses.
Okay.
So,
good stuff.
Not a good story here. But we separated out, and he went to the right, my uncle went to the left, and talked, turkey, they kind of roost and go they feed and go back. And so you can figure out the pattern. So the goal was to go sit in front of these berry bushes, tuck into them, and one over here, one here. I was in the center. And so I sat down and just stood up to see where everybody was. And the moment I stood up, I heard a gun blast. And I thought my gun went off. And I said, I always point this out. Gross looking fingernail, but that's the first thing I saw was blood here. But I couldn't figure out, it's kind of weird. You watch a movie, and a couple movies I can tell they're accurate. Somebody's really been shot, because you don't feel it. But I went to say, who shot, and my right lung had collapsed, and I was like gurgling blood, and so it was kind of, you're stunned for, you don't really know what's happening first couple minutes. I don't know how long it took, but I realized I got shot, and then my brother-in-law came down, and he thought I was dead, and he freaked out. I thought he was going to shoot and kill himself at the time, and so I'm sitting here pretty much dying, and I'm having to tell my uncle to take the gun away from him and kind of mediate this whole thing going on. Finally, after about 5 minutes, we got to call an ambulance, and we waited there 10, 15 minutes. I don't really remember, but nobody showed up, and I finally had to tell my brother-in-law and uncle. He calmed down. They lifted me up, and we went to a truck and drove up to the top of the property. The gate was locked, but you had everybody sitting there, like 4 fire trucks, policemen. Nobody went past the gate, which was insane. So let me die below. But anyways, we got there, and went into an ambulance, and they kept asking for my name and address, and I was fading. And if there wasn't, by chance, there was a police helicopter that was investigating a car crash. I don't know if somebody died, but he was on the way back. Actually met him. He lived out where I used to live in Sacramento, and he decided, just heard about this shooting accident, came back, and happened to be there. And it would have been an hour at least to get to the hospital. I was there in about 10 minutes, but I would have been dead.
And what's remarkable is you must be thinking there, your life's almost over, let alone your cycling career, but you did bounce back from that. They had to leave some of the lead shot in you. They couldn't get it all out, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to cause its own problems. You have lead poisoning. But you did come back, and you did come back to win one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Tour de France of all time.
It's exciting, and all good tours. Every tour is great. I mean, it's not me or anything, but I think tours, when it's really competitive and there's two people really battling it, that's always, I mean, I won in 1990, and Chiappucci took a 10-minute lead on me, and honestly, it was the easiest tour I've ever won.
But you and Fignon going right down to the wire, you don't see it anymore. The last stage in Paris is a procession, whereas for you that year, it was right down to the wire. It was a time trial. You had to take, I think...
I had to complete it by 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that year, I mean, you can imagine I was ready to quit the sport. I mean, I was in the Giro d'Italia. I don't know, after talking the last couple of days, I realized I wasn't such bad condition in 89. I actually got 6th place in the Tirreno Adriatico, but I signed with a team called ADR, and I was supposed to get paid money the 1st of January. Not making that much money right now after getting shot, and never got paid, and nobody's getting paid on the team. And I just remember racing just before the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and I said, screw this, I'm going back home, and had a fun night out, and wasn't ready to race the race. I was so pissed off. But I went back and took about 3 weeks off, kind of deciding again, do I want to continue? And because going from winning the Tour de France in '86 to literally, I was laughed at from when I got back, and you could see the directors kind of smiling, honking, laughing. Literally, I heard this like, ho, ho, ho. I don't know how to explain it. So that went on for almost all the way through until I won the Tour. And but the Giro d'Italia that year, I went in there with almost a month off, and sometimes I kind of forget all the details leading up to it. But the very first stage, I lost 8 minutes on Etna. But I also had, I'm thinking all this retrospect, but I had horrible allergies in the Giro d'Italia. I never could figure out, I was 3rd in the Giro in 85, 4th in 86, but I never felt 100% there. But 2 weeks after, I could feel like I'm, a Superman. But it really was allergies, grass allergies. And anyways, halfway through the Giro that year, and Tricimi-Lavaredo, I lost 17 minutes, and that was it. I remember seeing Stephen Roach taking off. I'm going, how was I ever that good? And I did break down psychologically, and it was kind of like I letting a lot of steam off. And there's a notorious story that everybody thinks I took EPO because I was the guy that never took an injection in racing, never did. And imagine I did get shot, and I lost well over 3/4 of my blood volume. And so I never did any kind of medical follow-up. It's just kind of crazy. And I was anemic. My hemoglobin was down, but had no iron stored. And it was my masseur, I call my masseur, my friend from California, Aldo. He kept saying, Greg, you look like a woman who's menstruating. You're gray. And I'm
That's
like,
nice of him.
menstruate? I'm not menstruating. But he was right. I had no iron. But I always kind of think, well, that was the turning point. It probably was, but also I kind of released a lot of pent-up frustration. My wife said, don't quit now. Make it to the end of the year. Then if you've tried everything you can, then you can quit.
Because it's interesting, those big years of your career were dominated by the two dominant French talents of the 80s, Hinault and Fignon. But actually going into the 89 Tour, I think it was Pedro Delgado who was the favourite to win it. Now, the two of you dispatched him fairly quickly, and then became...
We missed the start.
Yeah. It became a ding-dong match between the two of you. What are your abiding memories? Or what emotions do you remember from that 3 weeks as the two of you were sort of... You never got less than 50 seconds from each other.
Well, I was building up to that, but that's why I got sidetracked. But the Giro d'Italia. Yeah. So I started feeling better within 4 or 5 days of Tricimi-Lavaredo. And we had a couple rest days. And all of a sudden, the last 2-3 days, the first time in so long, my legs started feeling really good. And I decided in the last time trial, Jose DeCaro was my coach, and I said, I haven't tested myself really. So when you're in a stage race like that, once you're off, you're kind of getting through it. Maybe you go for a stage win, but it's never like you're racing for the win. And so I decided I was going to race as though I'm going for the victory of Giro. And I ended up getting second place, and Piacheski won it. Rumor has it he was holding on to a car. Seriously. But I beat Fignon by a minute and 21 seconds. So going into the 89 Tour, I know it looked really like I was so far down, but I actually calculated, I think the day before Friday night, there was Saturday they came out with what are my odds? And there's one guy that gave, maybe they thought I could win it, and then me, 2 people out of 20. But I actually calculated, and I figured that the amount of time that I took out of Fignon, without the aero bars, anything, I probably could win it. And within 1 or 2 seconds, that's kind of my calculation. Plus, I felt I was riding better. But so I felt like really confident I could do it. And I do believe I won the Tour the day before because our coach, Cyril Guimard, he said, the race is never over to the finish line. And Fignon came up, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Congratulations for your second." And I'm like, "Ooh, you've lost it." Yeah. Really?
And he was meant to be clever.
Well, but he got too confident. And I think in the first 2 kilometers, it took 10 seconds out of him. Because I knew he was going to start off like, I got this race won. And he actually did a very good time trial. I beat him by 8 seconds, but he actually did a very good race.
Well, you rode the quickest time trial of all time up to that point, didn't you, in the Tour?
That's another. Armstrong said there's no way I could do it with that EPO 854, but go there, it's...
What does he know?
I know, but Versailles to Champs-Élysées, you can't ever compare times on a time trial because it was fast, but it was also a lot of downhill.